Hi, my name is Jacob Buckman, and I am the Poet Laureate. So what is the Poet Laureate? The Poet Laureate is a position within the school that is basically there's a competition a little bit. It's an interview process and a whole deal about how an individual with a passion for poetry can reach out to the students of the university. It's been going on for I think there's one previous to me for 2 semesters, and that was the first one, so I'm the second here at FHSU. So my role as Poet Laureate is pretty much outreach at this point. It's funny, mostly as Poet Laureate, I spend my time explaining to people what Poet Laureate does. And so I'm just charged basically with getting students involved in poetry right now, and once we get a large number of students involved in poetry, we can actually move forward with how people express themselves and setting up different events and things like that. So to get the name, to get the title of Poet Laureate, I had to write a set of poems. I had to go through this process of getting letters of recommendation. I went through an interview process, competing, against other students that also wanted the position, and it was actually a pretty unique experience. Dr. Brad Will advertised the position in his class. I took last semester, Ideal Societies and Fiction. Is a great class, and basically I was able to then pursue this application process and be selected from there. So my hopes and admirations for this program are right now centered around outreach. I want to try and get as many people involved as those that want to be involved. If there's a desire for a student to, if the student desires to write poetry or experience poetry, then I'd like to reach out to them and know that there's a space where people are doing that, and that's kind of where we are right now. We can move forward with actually setting up events and making these more frequent once we have a large enough number of students actually committed to this thing. So we plan on growing the Poet Laureate Poet Laureate program by doing events, kind of like we've done already this semester. We've done a few. We had magnet poetry, but we have them set up in places that are frequently traveled and lots of foot traffic. And this allows for students who maybe wouldn't be exposed to this otherwise to see what's going on and think, oh, well, that sounds fun, and there's actually people participating, and it's not like this real stuffy thing where everyone's sipping their wine and doing the thing. They get to go hang around other students who are just interested in poetry. What do I love about poetry? So my favorite thing about poetry is just how applicable it is. It's a great way of self-expression. I'm not particularly talented in visual arts or anything like that, and so I find my best poetry comes out in the form of music. And we hear poetry all the time. Anytime you turn on the radio, you're hearing poetry, and I think that's probably my favorite aspect of poetry, is just how relatable it is. What I hope to accomplish as Poet Laureate right now is pretty much the groundwork for the future of the Poet Laureate organization. I want to get people involved. I want to start setting up events that can recur every year. I want to start getting things rolling down the hill so that the future Poet Laureates don't necessarily have to maybe devote so much time or effort into this, and it actually is a running organization by the time I'm gone. So right now, anyone can join Poet Laureate. It's an open organization that anybody is allowed to, and everyone is allowed to come and experience. As far as how, we don't have a very expedited process yet. I have a mailing list. Basically, anytime anybody catches any sort of interest for this sort of thing, and they show up to one of our events that we've had, they leave their email behind, and then we email them, and they tell their friends basically, and it's a come and go as you please thing, which is really nice. You're not committed to any sort of long haul. If you're showing up to an event, you show up for as long as you want to stay and leave when you feel like leaving. So pretty much word of mouth right now, I guess, is what it is. But hopefully in the future we have something a little bit more cemented. Well, I'm all over. Yeah, so I'm usually actually running around in the philosophy department. If you guys are interested in being a part of the Poet Laureate organization, of course you can talk to Ms. McHenry or Morgan Chalfin or myself, and you can reach me at jabuckman@mail.fhsu.edu. Poetry is so important, in my opinion. Not necessarily as poetry, but as art. I think expressing oneself is intrinsically valuable. We're told as children, when we want to express ourselves, your mother, looks at you, use your words. And actually, that still rings true late into your 20s and through the rest of your life, because if you're not using your words, the ideas that you're conveying maybe aren't as clear. And so poetry is unique in art in that sense, because there's less ambiguity, than visual art, or maybe just music without words or something like that. But I have a passion for poetry through music, and so expressing myself in this way, I think, is intrinsically valuable. My name is Jacob Buckman, and I am the Poet Laureate.